The Dighton Rock Mystery, pre-flood message. It's a 40-ton boulder found in Massachusetts. Many hieroglyphs, many petroglyphs found in the United States. This is one of the enigmas. The Dighton Rock is a 40-ton boulder originally located in the riverbed of Taunton River in Berkeley, Massachusetts. It was formerly part of the town of Dighton. And the rock is noted for its petroglyphs, the preliminary lines and geometric shapes, schematic drawings of people, along with written, both verified and not, carvings of ancient and uncertain origin, and the controversy about their creators. In 1963, during construction of a cofferdam, state officials removed the rock from the river for preservation, and it was installed in a museum in a nearby park, Dighton Rock State Park, and in 1971 it was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The boulder has the form of a slanted six-sided block about 5 feet high, 9.5 feet wide, 11 feet long. It's gray-brown crystalline sandstone of medium coarse texture, and the surface has inscriptions as has a trapezoid face and is inclined 70 degrees northwest. In 1680, the English colonist Reverend John Danford made a drawing of the petroglyphs, which has been preserved in the British Museum, and his drawings conflicts with the reports of others and the current markings on the rock. In 1690, Reverend Cotton Mather described the rock in his book The Wonderful Works of God Commemorated. Among the other curiosities of New England, one is that of the mighty rock, on a perpendicular side whereof by a river which at high tide covers part of it. There are very deep engraved, no man alive knows how or when, about 50 lines, near 10 feet long and the foot and a half broad, filled with strange characters which would suggest as odd thoughts about them that were here before us, as there are odd shapes in that elaborate monument. This is what the Cotton Mather described the rock as. And during the 19th century, many popular publications, public figures mentioned the rock. The satirist James Russell Lowell suggested it should be mentioned by presidential candidates in letters to newspapers. Quote, "If letters must be written, profitable use might be made of the Dighton Rock hieroglyphic or the cuneiform script, every fresh decipherer of which is enabled to educe a different meaning," end quote. Lowell made other references to the rock in his widely circulated satirical writing and may thus have helped to popularize it. In 1912, Edmund de la Barre wrote that markings on the Dighton Rock suggest that Miguel Corte Real reached New England. De la Barre stated that the markings were abbreviated Latin, and the message translates into English reads as follows: "I, Miguel Corte Real, 1511, in this place by the will of God, I became a chief of the Indians." Other hypotheses about the creation of the markings include indigenous people of North America, who were known to have inscribed petroglyphs in rocks. A schematic face on the Dighton Rock is similar to an Indian petroglyph in eastern Vermont. Ancient Phoenicians, proposed in 1783 by Ezra Stiles in his election sermon, or it could have been the Norse. This is what was proposed in 1837 by Carl Christian Raffne and debunked by Jason Colavito, or it could be Portuguese, proposed in 1837 by Carl Christian Raffne and debunked by, proposed by Edmund de la Barre, who after seeing the Portuguese writing believed that they then used the rock for their own inscriptions. Or it could be Chinese, proposed by Gavin Menzies in his 2002 book, 1421, The Year China Discovered America. In November 1952, Miguel Corte Real Memorial Society of New York acquired 49.5 acres of land adjacent to the rock to create a park. But in 1951, the Massachusetts legislature expropriated the same land for a state park, More land was purchased and Dighton Rock State Park now has an area of 100 acres. The vicinity of Dighton Rock has been beautiful and furnished with parking and picnic facilities. The depths of the inscription, although Mather describes these as deeply cut, a statement which has been repeated to the present day, early reports suggest that this was not exactly the case. De la Barre wrote, "One thing is certain, that former descriptions of the depth of the incisions cannot be used as evidence for any change. The first who describes them calls them deeply engraved in 1690, but Cotton Mather had never seen the rock so far as we know, and this statement of his is doubtless on the par with other statements that the characters are on a mighty rock. Greenwood gives the first reliable description in 1730. He definitely says that the indentures are not very considerable, and his drawings and other statements prove that he had much difficulty making out the real characters and has ever been experienced since then. Even on the lowest part of the face, which alone does show evident signs of much wear, Mather's draftsmen and Greenwood and their next followers were even less successful in making out apparent characters that have been some later observed. Sewell in 1768 and Kendall in 1807 made definite statements to the effects that the greater part of the lines were so effaced as to make their decipherment impossible or wholly subject to the fancy. This is from Wikipedia. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.